Y'all, we are leveling up. I'm so excited because I have a brand new guest with me here in the studio. And I'm going to let Tammie introduce herself and tell us all about the things she is doing.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. So, my name is Tammie Francisque. I am a newly published author of a biography called Nobody's Child, a Biography. It is a story about my mom and my family and just the determination that my mother had in her life and just an amazing life that she had. And I hope that you get a chance to check the book out. It's available on Amazon. It's available on barnesandnoble.com and also on my website, nobodyschildbiography.com. In addition to the book that I recently published, I also have a children's book that I'm working on, that I've been working on for quite some time based on my son, Miles. It's called The Adventures of Scooter Miles. And then many other projects that are in the process, but still in the birthing stage. So that's what's going on with me.
Oh, I love it. I love it how you wove that in there in the birthing stage, because we know, we're always in I think sometimes we get stuck in the planning phase, and we don't go into the birthing aspect of it, really getting that thing out of us. A lot of us have been so compacted with blessings and gifts and talents and all these ideas. Some of us are multimillionaires just in the making, but it's the birthing, it's the building and birthing process that really kind of seals that deal. Will you be that multimillionaire that you see yourself being? Will you be that published author? Will you be that successful business owner? Or will you even just live your best life? Building and birthing doesn't always have to be, some sort of business.
Project. Yes.
It could just be having a healthier mindset, right? Really getting out there and living life to the fullest. So, Tammie, you talked about it. You got us going. So in the beginning, right, you had these ideas for your books, your latest book, your most recent published book. Tell us, what was that initiating factor that said, hey, you know what? This book needs to be out there in the world.
Yeah. I mean, well, I've always been writing something, journaling. Since college, since undergraduate, I was introduced to poetry and powerful female writers. And that was the birthing again of, sparked something inside me, that I just wanted to learn more about women's stories. So I definitely have been always wanting to write a women's story. But during college, my mom and I were not estranged, but just weren't in contact with each other a lot. But I had written a lot of poetry in one of my classes, and it was kind of some hate poetry, almost, not hate poetry, but, just some struggles that our families, go through, and you kind of feel whatever you feel about it. And I was writing about it. And this professor, Estella Conwell Majozo, very interesting story about her. She changed her name to honor the women that she most admired. So it was Majozo, Majozo, and it's Maya Angelou, Josephine Baker, and Zora Neale Hurston. So I always remembered that. But she was a major person who said to me, you can write, this thing. You can contact your mom and work these things out and get to know her and kind of understand what you've been going through. So from that time, I've been thinking about writing my mom's story. But one day, after my mom had gone through a lot of things that you'll read about in the book, my mom, I said to her, my child might not know you. When I was pregnant with my son 15 years ago, I was pregnant with my son, and I said to my mom, my child might not know you, based on the things that you've been through in your life. You may not be here, hopefully you will be, but you might not be. And she said, well, what do you want to know? And I said, I want to know everything, anything you're willing to tell me. She said, well, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. So I grabbed a pen and I started writing. So we did a lot of interviews, and it was very cathartic for both of us, just learning about each other and just crying and, just learning so many things that we had missed during the time that we were apart. And that's what sparked the book. And that got me to interview my dad and interview my other family members. And it just became this book that I have here for you, Nobody's Child Biography. And it was a culmination of that.
Oh, that's a beautiful testimony, and I can relate because my very first book was called Therapy for Your Soul, book of poetry. So when you said poetry, and this was the real deal. You got what you were going to get in that book. When you were saying, and I paraphrase, but when you said that, it resonated with me because I remember writing that book. Man, poetry is so therapeutic, and it was everything that I needed. I wrote it at the birth of my first son as well, and just going through the transitional phase of being a college graduate, an unwed single parent, the whole statistic of college graduates, female college graduates, just falling into that, that title, and the pressure and the shame and the guilt that I felt. Writing that book, putting it all out there. And I said on the last show, really receiving what I felt like God was talking to me about. What was life telling me? What was life teaching me? And I was able to channel that into works of, written art, poetry. So when you said that, I was like, yes, snaps.
Yes.
Snaps to you, lady.
No, it's so powerful what you said. I don't know if you had the chance to read Nobody's Child, the biography, but this book actually takes place in a therapy session. So it's my mom on the couch telling all these things and reflecting back on her life. And one of the major parts connects to what you just said was when you were a single mom and you're raising your sons or your children, and, you don't know what to do. There's no manual. And that's exactly what happened to my mom. She got into this situation and she wasn't prepared. Nobody taught her these things. In 1942, when she was born, this was a different time. People didn't really, spend a lot of time telling you, if you made a mistake and you got pregnant, they were like, you need to get yourself together, go figure it out. They supported her in some ways, but, again, she didn't feel supported in a lot of ways. And, you're thrown into this situation and you got to just kind of make it. And that's what a lot of women are in that situation. We have to figure it out, and this is what we do because we're so powerful,
Yes, I totally agree. And that leads us right into our first point. When I was thinking about, what would be some of the key things that I would talk about in leveling up, right? And we've talked about being great. We talked about dreaming again. We've talked about having a growth mindset. And when it comes to building something, you first have to have a plan for success. Now, life is going to help you along on this one way or the other. Either you can glean from someone else's life. You can, maybe there's someone out there, a mentor, maybe even a parent, a friend, or just some sort of example that you can see and watch and learn and apply from. Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it's tips and strategies from a therapy session. Or, like you said earlier, you make it one way or another. If you make mistakes, you either learn through failure. If you're successful, then you can learn through success. Now, planning for success is crucial. To building something that is lasting. When you think about planning for success, Tammie, what is the first thing that you feel like is most important on someone's plan?
I think the most important thing is I think you have to know what your goal is. So if you go in, like, for instance, writing a book, what are you writing this book for? Is this just for yourself? Is it just for journaling, like you said before? Do you want to, be, on Oprah's book club? Like, what is your goal? Or is it your one and done? Is it one and done? You can say, I wrote that book, I'm done. Or, I wrote that song, I'm done, whatever that thing is. But if you know that you want to have a catalog of songs, that you want to publish and you want to go, sell it to someone, you have to prepare for that. Figure out, what it is what your goal is, right? Is this going to be your new career? What kind of time you're going to invest into it? Because you're going to have to put some time into it. So I decided, this is what I want to do. I want to be a writer. This is what I would like to do all day, every day. So I know that first of all, I have to get my projects in order. Like, I have to have an arsenal of things so that can sustain me, to make a living at it, right? Or I can have something else that I do. Maybe this is something I do on the side. So you have to know what your goal is, I think. And I think that's part of the major part of planning.
Definitely. Having a goal, we talked about this on, having a growth mindset. So for one, if you're planning to be successful at something, I love what Tammie said. You first have a goal. You have to have a goal in mind. And if your goal is very big, if it's a big goal, then you may want to break it down into some more short-term goals, right?
Mhm.
Excuse me, y'all. Short-term goals. Because maybe a goal that will take 5 years, that may seem overwhelming, right? When you first look at it and you're like, man, it's going to take me 5 years. And a lot of us will quit right there.
Yes.
When we see how much time it's really going to take for us to invest in this, that way when it is built, it is sustaining, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a goal that's going to take more than a year, I always say break that down into smaller goals. If you can, by the quarter. Because once you start making those small successes, like you accomplish that first little small goal, that's going to give you the fuel to keep going, to keep pressing to the next goal. And I like what you said about having a mission and a vision. Yes. Whenever I'm coaching my clients, I always tell them, what is your mission? Like, what is this set to do? Right? What is the benefit? Like you said, what is the benefit that this will offer? Not just you. That's Sometimes we'll plan a business from our financial success that we hope to make.
That's right.
Or it be notoriety. But we have to be growth minded. We have to be servant leaders also. How will this product, this idea, or this effort benefit someone other than you? Right? And then what is your vision? What do you see this becoming in the fullness of it? Now, have you ever been tempted to quit before you even got started?
Oh, goodness. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a normal thing. I think a lot of us maybe second guess, well, maybe we have an idea of what we want to do, right? And then we get into it and it doesn't look the way we thought it was going to look. It doesn't look like that.
That's it.
I know. Listen, God will tell you, if you think you have a plan, you better think twice, because it's going to change. And that's the thing. It's going to always be changing. You have to be open. I think my suggestion is to be open to changing, be open to expanding the vision too, And sometimes, someone might suggest something to you. You might see something. You might get inspiration from just anything, somebody driving along or somebody having a quick conversation with you in the neighborhood. Those things, be open to that. And I always keep a little notepad. I type little notes in my cell phone all the time, especially 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. That's when I have my best thoughts. My best creative time is about 2, 3 in the morning. And then once I bring that into the morning and I have time to think about it and have some tea, then I can merge it into the vision, and it changes and it looks different all the time. And that's okay. That's okay.
No, I think flexibility is another thing that should be on your list when you're planning for success. Yes. Because we've all seen in recent times how pivoting is very instrumental. Yep. If you're fixed, right? We talked about the infinite and the finite goal, right? If you're playing the infinite game, then you know that the game continues. This may be one level that you reach. You may accomplish the goal, your short-term goal, then the next one, then the next one. Mm-hmm. But then when you're playing an infinite game, you can pivot, you can be flexible. You can grow, you can expand, you can say, you know what? I thought all I wanted to do was coach people and help people eat right. Mm-hmm. Now I actually want to add in a Zumba class.
Right.
Now I want to write a recipe book.
Right.
Or you may think, okay, living my best life was working in this job field. When really, if you open yourself up, and some of us get to certain places in life when we realize, hey, I can do more than just this one thing.
Yes.
Maybe
yes.
I can be a tax
right.
preparer, even though I've been in education the whole time. Or, maybe I can be in finance if I've only been in a certain area.
Yes.
It's when we open ourselves up to the possibility of all that life provides for us, that gives us that insight
Yes.
into what we're all really truly made of on the inside.
And that could
Have you
sound a
ever
little
gotten to
daunting,
levels
right?
in life, where you find new things about yourself?
And that could sound a little daunting, but the thing is, the key is to stay open, like you said. And if you stay open, then you won't quit. You won't quit. It's constantly moving. It's fluid. That's the thing about creativity and, just coming up with ideas and, moving forward. If you stay fluid, you will continue to move forward. But once you quit, that's the thing. That's the thing that will stop you and stop you in your tracks, and you don't want that. So you want to keep on creating. You want to stay open. I promise you there'll be more ideas coming, more creativity flowing through you.
I agree. Fluidity is like everything, because then that way, I think it comes from the saying, go with the flow.
Yes.
Now, you don't want to just be floating everywhere, right? Because the flow
No.
will take you places you don't want to go,
Absolutely
right?
Not. Absolutely not. But the thing is, when you decide that something is not working, though, you shouldn't, keep beating that drum. You shouldn't keep beating that same drum. You can feel it. I think you can feel it. If you find yourself hitting the brick wall with this thing, whatever it is, you want to be a doctor or whatever, you want to open your own Pilates studio, whatever it is. If you know that that's not, in your heart, first of all, that's not your thing, then by all means, you probably should not be wasting your time doing that. Think about what your real goal is, what your real vision is, what really means a lot to you, what's your value system, all those things. Tap into those things. And what do you see yourself as a Pilates studio owner? If you don't really see that, then that's probably not your vision. And, you may want to put your energy someplace else, but definitely not quitting. Not quitting is really important. And then we get
I definitely agree.
Right?
I definitely agree. Quitting is not, and we're going to touch on that, but I like, going with the flow has its limitations, and when you say you could feel it, I believe, and I was saying it the other day, y'all are just, the restroom is the best place for me. I don't know. It's like my quiet place, I guess, because I have kids and I can just close the door. So if you're a parent, you know that the restroom can be a hideaway. So I was thinking the other day, and I was like, I'm going to go where peace is for me. And when you said, you can feel it, if something is for you, because you have peace about it. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be afraid, because you can still have fear and it'd be perfect for you.
That's right.
But peace is a different thing. If something is bothering you or troubling you to the point where you really don't feel like it's a good move, then that's a good place to pause and say, hey, my peace is being disturbed for a reason. This is a good place in life to say, okay, you know what? I need to sit down with this thing. Maybe writing it out on a sheet of paper, sketching it out and seeing, because I think when you get stuff in front of you, like you just got to get stuff out. Yes. You got to get stuff out of your mind, out of your heart, out of your spirit. Sometimes you got to write something down so you can see. Bible says, make it plain. So for me, the way I apply that is writing stuff down. Then that way I can look at it from a different perspective. Now it's not in my thoughts, it's in front of me. Right. And if I'm not being pulled toward it, then I need to step away from it for that season. Now, also, if you can't see a thing, then two things happen. Tammie said it. One, that might not be your thing.
That's right.
Two, might not be your season. Because just because we're building something doesn't mean it's going to be completed within the time frame that we have planned. And you see it all the time in construction. They have an estimated time, but things go wrong all the time. You got to make a change. You got to swap out a tool, a strategy, a person. Some people get fired and some people get hired. Yeah. And you might have to fire some folks from your life, or you might have to hire some folks in. Oh, yes. So just because you can't see a thing
Yes.
for what it could be and the whole maturity of the thing doesn't mean it's something you shouldn't do. It just might not be your season.
Right.
I love that. How have seasons played an important role in the things that you were building?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, going back to how long it took to write the book. It took 15 years to write this particular book, because it was very personal and there was a lot of considerations that I had to, think about, in order to put this book out, because it is about, the lives of some of the people based on the lives of some of the people in my family, and you had to really think about it. So I think the seasons for me for this particular project were long seasons, and who could have known that? I couldn't have known that, but I put it to the side. I kept putting it to the side. I said, this is not the right season for this, and then this parenting, so I went into my parenting season. That was the most important thing for me, to be the best mom I could to my son and to be the best wife I could to my husband. So those are the things that I put first. And that was my season for that. And I knew that eventually I would come back to this. But again, this took a long time. So just to be patient. And, if you don't know the season that for this project, it's okay to put it down, but keep moving. As I said before, keep doing something else. Maybe do something smaller, like read books. Like if you're a writer, read books, or maybe do a little bit, Google something, a type of construction, company that you would like to do. But as long as you're always keeping this thing that is your passion in the front of your mind, never letting it go too far, I think you'll be okay. Because it'll always be with you.
I love that. You say keep it in the forefront, because some things take time. And we talked about, I referenced the elephant, right? When the elephant is, going through its pregnancy, it takes 2 years.
Yes.
Now I was barely pregnant the whole 9 months.
Right.
I could not imagine, being pregnant for 2 years. But the thing of it is, I heard a pastor say that when that elephant gives birth, it's not giving birth to something 7 pounds. It's not giving birth to something that took 9 months. It's giving birth to something, the greatness of it matches the birthing process. So if you're doing something and this has been a long process or a rough process, then guess what? You're probably entering into the birthing phase of it.
Yes.
But here's where the hope is. They say if it's easy, everybody would do it.
That's right.
All right. And you've been called. You've been qualified. We are equipped to do all of the ideas. I've had some ideas where I'm like, girl, you must be crazy. Like, how are you going to do that? But with time, with research, with getting with other people, networking and picking their brains and doing my part, I was able to accomplish those smaller tasks that led to the overall accomplishment of the goal. I was playing the infinite game. I knew that it's one step, then another, and then another. Some of us, we get stuck on success. We accomplish one step and then we're like, yeah, I did it. I'm done.
That's it.
And that's it. But then you have to remember that the game keeps going. Life keeps going, right? And we're not equating this to like some kind of trivia game, but life is full of surprises.
Yes. Look at COVID. Who would have thought that this would be, the way that we are getting through our days? We weren't prepared, for any of this. But look at how we've adapted. Look at how we've adapted. So many blessings came out of COVID. So many bad things happened with COVID. A lot of people lost lives, and definitely it was devastating for a lot of people. But, for me and my family, it's been such a blessing, things that we hadn't realized we needed, so I'm grateful, for this time. I'm grateful for this time. and it
I can
allowed me to
agree.
birth some more ideas, which was really wonderful, and I'm not saying that, we're perfect. I'm not saying I got to the point where now I'm the master and I know. I am learning every day. I'm learning every day on how to juggle all these projects and trying to, see my vision down the line. Where am I going to be 5 years from now? What projects do I want to put forward? Just, how I find time to write and take my son to football practice. It's life stuff, but it's all part of the process.
It is. And I like what you said, life stuff. When it comes to life stuff, I think this is where patience has to come in.
Yeah.
And y'all, I am not that patient. I will be honest. I think that's one, I love those videos on like TikTok and Instagram where they're like pouring water and like, God, this how God made her. And
Yeah.
I think with patience, he just gave me a little sprinkle. Like, that's all I got, y'all. Just a little dash.
Yeah. Listen, patience that's one of the big ones. A lot of us, we live in an instant world. We live in a microwave society. Everybody wants it fast, 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 fast. And, again, I take it back. For those of us who believe in God, God will slow you down and he will let you know that you are not on your own time frame.
Yes, Lord. Yes, he will.
You must be patient with yourself. You must be patient with the process. You must be patient with your loved ones, and most of all, be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, to do and be like other people or get things done the way other people do it. Your process is your process. So you have to find a way to be patient with yourself.
I definitely agree. How have you found the beauty in your process?
I think it's just being authentic, being honest with myself about, who I am, what I can do, what things are too much for me, what things I don't want to do. Okay. What things I don't want to accept, what I don't want to compromise anything, just to get things done for the sake of time or what other people want. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself and be authentic.
Yeah. I'm all about transparency. In every episode, I try and have some sort of transparency moment. And my transparency moment, authentic moment for today is patience is not my virtue. Now, I have had to, I'm bad. Like, I have had to really, you be like, how many times am I going to go through this? And I feel like life is like, until you learn, right?
Yes.
So I've had to, repeat so many lessons because I did not get it. Mm-hmm. And the moment I got a glimmer of what patience meant, the easier the things I was trying to accomplish came to be. The birthing process became easier. Now, if you've ever given birth, then you know that there is no easy way. Even with medicine and all the coaching and breathing and ice cubes you could have.
Yes.
It is still one that requires your whole being.
Yes.
Your mind, your heart, your body, the physical energy, and it's the same when it comes to really being our best selves, really showing up in life as our most authentic self. And that takes vulnerability. It takes patience to say, you know what? Here are some lessons that I have to learn, but I'm not going to get down on myself if I make a mistake.
Right.
If I fail. If I, compare myself and slipped into a pity party. That's another one of the P's that's a trap, a pity party. Yep. So having patience with yourself is the first step. Because if you're patient with yourself, then you say, okay, well, you know what? I know what my limitations are. I know what my goals are. Yep. I know what I'm good at. And I know what I can do. Mm-hmm. Right. Then once you take those components and you apply them, and then you'll be able to be patient with other people.
Right.
Because you'll be able to see if they trigger you.
That's right.
If if they present something to you, I love what you said. Even knowing what you don't want to do or do not want to accept is part of your process.
That's right.
Having patience so you can learn those things about yourself. What standard am I going to hold myself and other people to? How has patience developed you as a writer?
Oh, I think if I look at the writing process, I had to section it off the way that you said, you might have to break down your goal, right? You may have to break it down. It's too big. So recently, I started working with a trainer occasionally. And one of the things that she does is she does a 6-day workout. So it's not overwhelming. And she didn't say that, but when I look at what she's doing, I'm like, okay, that's what she's doing. She's breaking this thing up. So it's not so overwhelming. It's not so committal, because, we all have a problem with commitment sometimes, and you don't want to feel that invested. You want to invest, but you don't want to feel that invested. And so if you're doing it in pieces, I think that's less daunting for people. So I think the writing process for me was like that too. So I would have chapters sitting on the floor, and I would come back to those chapters until that chapter was finished. But I may have put it to the side. So I had to really use that process of breaking that down and making it small for myself, because I would have felt overwhelmed, because I think the book is 300 and something pages. So I would have been overwhelmed with trying to keep on doing the whole thing. So I think that part of my process was helpful to break it down like that.
Oh, I love that. I got such a visual image of these book chapters everywhere and just coming back to them. That's why I say it is good to get things out in front of you. Any kind of goal or affirmation or anything positive that you want to see, transpire in your life, it's good to have those things in front of you. I even use my mirror. Sometimes I'll write a statement on my mirror because I know that I'm going to be in front of it every day. Or in a journal or some type of, device. Even in my phone, my home screen is something positive that I keep in front of me. So there are little ways that we can cheat the system. If you don't have all this time to sit down and, journal for 2-3 hours, write it somewhere where you're going to see it every day. Put it on a sticky note, put it on your, in your car, on your dashboard. It's all kinds of ways. Even on my desk are affirmations, things that I speak over into my life, by reading them. I'm constantly reminding myself of the things that I feel are promised to me to live out in this life. And I feel like if you're going to really endure, have some endurance, you have to keep those things in front of you. Now, patience with the process, endurance. Oh my gosh. There have been so many times where I feel like, okay, I am out of gas. What are some of the things that you do to help you build endurance?
Meditation. A lot of care app. Because, we need a break, we need a break, and we need to recharge. We need, and good people around us. I think that's really important, to have people that pour into us and maybe that can remind us, how to keep ourselves grounded and centered and give us positive affirmations as well. So I think, staying connected to good things, nurturing yourself, giving yourself good food in a sense,
Right. I love the whole idea of self-care. And we have to expand that idea of self-care well beyond pedicures and manicures. Those are good. Because I felt like I was playing spades when I went to the nail salon last week, because I had all these little visit gift, little stamps. Yeah, they stamp you, and by the 9th visit, you get you give you a free pedicure. So I had about 4 or 5 cards. I said, let me show you my hand. so I can go get this free pedicure, y'all. So I had all my look on. But just taking the idea of self-care and expanding it beyond pedicures and manicures, which are good, to include more mental work where we can allow our minds to stop for a second, to pause, to reflect. Because sometimes we can look so far ahead that we don't see the things that we've recently endured or encountered or learned from. We don't take those things and apply it to the future.
Right.
Sometimes people are like, the past, my past. No, the past is the past, yes, because it is past. But your past also has treasures that will help you in your future.
Yes.
You just can't look back too long, right? That's the whole balance of, are we going to look too far ahead or stay looking back too long? So when we get into that place where we can find some good ways to meditate, to calm ourselves down, to really soak in the present.
Yes.
I really think that helps us to keep moving forward. Because sometimes, I'm be honest, I've looked at some goals and looked at them from a future perspective and just immediately, instantly, just like with a snap of the fingers, drained.
Yeah.
And because I'm looking too far ahead.
Yes.
I'm not really reveling in my present, in my current reality. So I think it's a matter of being balanced with perspectives, giving ourselves time to step away, step back, unplug, refresh.
Yes.
And, the Bible says the renewal of our mind should happen every day, daily, renewing your mind. And I think you can only accomplish that, in my opinion, through some sort of meditation.
Yes.
Quiet reflection time.
Agreed.
Now, what were some of your biggest triggers that made you want to just say, you know what? I don't have the energy for this. What were some of the things that you identified to say, hey, you know what? If I don't keep a lid on this, this will burn me out.
Well, okay. So, I mean, if we're talking about this particular project, right? So
anything.
I think work, I think balancing work, life, caring for your families, balancing work, understanding that the work you do is not who you are. You can't become the job you have where you're just getting paid to do something, because you're giving a lot of energy to that. I don't want to say you're wasting it, but you're giving a lot of energy over to something that if you don't see it down the line as something that's going to be fruitful for you, if it's not going to be something that's going to pour back into you, then you really are funneling out a lot more energy than you want to be funneling out. I'll say it that way. So I know that I give a lot of energy, to my job. So from 8:30 to 4:30, I know that there's a lot of energy I give to that. But I promise you, once that is over, I need to be focused on this stuff. And so for me, once I'm done with work, then I have to do family stuff, and then there's not a lot of time left for me in the evening, so that's, again, that's, we talk about the things we need to work on or the things that we still, have to do some work on. That's one of the things that I still have to work on because I don't think that I balance that very well, but I'm working on that every day. Trying to find time to really make sure I'm focusing on writing, creating new things, birthing the other things that I have going on so I can see something finished. Because that motivates you to do more stuff. When you see that finished thing, it is the best thing in the world. It is the best thing in the world to have this thing in your hand, just completed. I'm just, it's such a load off and a weight off and just a good boost of self pride, and self-esteem. Like I feel good that I finished that,
Yeah.
One of the greatest accomplishments, that I've had besides birthing my child.
No,
He's
I
my other
totally
child.
agree. I know your projects can become your babies too.
Yes,
And I love
yes,
that. It leads us right into the last point, which is the birthing process, the actual birth of a thing.
yeah.
Now, the journey may be long and hard. You may have to, pivot when need. First, you need a plan.
Yes.
Got to have a plan for your success, whether it's, again, having a business or going into a particular career field or just living your best life. You got to have a plan for that. And then you have to be patient with your process because life, it does not rotate on a what Shunte and Tammie want to happen and when
That's
they
right.
want it to happen kind of schedule. It just doesn't happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we have to be ready for that birth of that thing. Now,
Yeah.
we talked about childbirth earlier, and I'm gonna go back to it because Lord, mine was rough, girl. Ooh. But I tell you, like you said, when I had that child in my hand,
Yes.
at the end of the process, and I could look into my son's face.
Yes.
I forgot all about the pain. I forgot all about the energy, the effort, the time, the sacrifice. I forgot all about it. And I saw him, and you just feel an overwhelming amount of joy.
Yes.
And accomplishment.
Yes.
And you are right. You hit it on the nail on the head. A boost for your self-confidence. And there's nothing wrong with that. We talked about being great last episode.
Okay.
And for some of us, we need to give ourselves permission to show up in life and take up space. I always say greatness takes up space. Some of us are occupying the smallest area in the rooms that we step our feet into. But it is time. It is time. It is time for us to step into the room and fill up the place with goodness, all the goodness that the things that we have in us, the things that we are birthing in us, to bring that goodness out into the world, and it benefits our communities. It benefits our families,
Yes. I was going to say that.
When you saw that book, and hold it up one more time for us. I love all the plugs. Go for it. Nobody's Child. When you got your first copy in your hand, describe the feeling to us.
It was surreal. It was I was emotional. I was very emotional. When you read a book by someone else, you have a certain level of respect for it. You kind of understand that somebody put that kind of time into, but you may not connect with it emotionally. You just feel like it's a book. It's a book. You're going to read it. You might pass it off to somebody else. You might put it on your shelf. It's just a book. But I'm still amazed that I wrote all these words, just to have these words in this book. It's a lot of words, and you think to yourself, I never thought I could write this many words. And I certainly didn't think I could write it, for people to connect with it and have it come together in a story, to do that with words. I love words. I love writing. I love reading. I love music. I love sound. I love talking. I love conversation. I mean, just the love of words, to have it in one place in a compilation of something that created another thing and just happens to be connected to the people that I love. It's just, it all comes full circle in this beautiful thing, this second child that I birthed. It's just an amazing feeling, and I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful.
Now tell us all about your project. So just give us a recap for anybody who wasn't with us at the beginning of the show. Tell us about your books and your projects and where we can go to support you.
So, Nobody's Child, a Biography is my first published book. I have other projects that I'm working on. I'm actually working on the second book, in the next book that's connected with Nobody's Child, to expand on some of the characters and what happened with them, and maybe, some new things that people might not have thought to look for in those characters. So I'm going to try to expand it out in a creative way. So Nobody's Child, the second book, look for that. The children's book series, I'm still working on. but I'm hoping to get that out hopefully by the end of the summer. That will be wonderful if it could be completed by then. But again, we're going to be patient with our process. And it's going to come when it's supposed to come. But my book is available on Amazon.com. It's available on BarnesandNoble.com, and it's available on Nobody'sChildBiography.com, which is my website. You can also listen to some audio clips from chapters in the book that my wonderful girlfriend Sora created with another actor, wonderful actors, Adiaga, Faiza. And they recorded these chapters, give you an idea of what the book is about, to give you a little teaser. So that is on the website. And it's also on YouTube if you want to check it out on YouTube. But you can get your autographed copy at Nobody'sChildBiography.com. And that is where you can find the book.
Now, who are your favorite characters from the book? Ooh. I know they probably all are, but which ones stand out?
Okay, so favorite is Brenda. So Brenda is the main character, who is my mom. And I have the most admiration for her. She had a wonderful life, beautiful person. You would not have expected all these things that have happened to her. Many people who knew my mom had no idea these things happened to her, that she had gone through these things. But she was such an amazing, strong woman to have gone through these things and came out on the other side, with her faith intact. That's the most important thing. But she is my favorite character, but my favorite villain, because there's some villains in this book.
Okay.
My favorite villain is May. So you got to check it out, because May is a piece of work.
Okay, May.
She is somebody, who you love to hate. But there's a few characters in there. And then Summer, of course, which is me. I'm Summer in the book. So pick up Nobody's Child Biography and check it out.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a giveaway. I love these things. So if you are listening and you would love a copy of Nobody's Child, then fill out our survey on mixtalkmedia.org/listen-live. And there's a survey to let us know that you were listening to the show and you would love a copy. Again, that's MIXED talkmedia.org/listen-live. And let us know in the comments section, I want my copy. And we're going to send you a copy of Nobody's Child. I'm going to also shoot that out on social media. So you guys be looking out for that. So I'm excited. I got to give me a copy.
You can find me on social media. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. As at Nobody's_Child_bio. That's on Instagram. On Facebook, it's at Nobody's Child a Biography. And on Twitter, it's at Nobody Biography. And that's where you can find me on social media, okay?
We're going to make sure we get those social media links plugged in so you guys can go and get a copy. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Life XL on Mixed Talk Radio. You guys, I'll be back next Saturday at 1:00 Central Standard Time. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and a big shout out. I want to give a big shout out before I go because I am rocking some merch here, you guys. Now, this is not my merch, but you can find this wide brim black hat at Simply Fancy Boutique. CEO is Tammie Ross. I mean, she has so many different styles. She has, all kinds of garments, clothing, dresses, jumpsuits, y'all. And she got other colors of this hat. I have a blue one, like a cobalt blue. Ooh, it's bad, y'all. But again, thank you. Big ups, big shout out to Tammie Ross for gifting me with this wide brim black hat. Again, you can shop her at simplyfancyboutique.com. And I'll catch you guys next week on Mixed Talk Radio. Bye, y'all.